So I think I may have kind of sort of told a lie in the previous vlog, but I can explain. You see, in the previous vlog I said that I'd sorted out the alternator on my Jimny, and I'm not so sure about that. Let me show you. So here, without the Jimny running, we've got a 12.5 volt on the alternator on the battery. We're going to crank her up. First cold start. Starts up so beautifully now, and if we go and take a look now, she's only charging at 12.14, so something's definitely not going on there. I think I know what it is. I think the alternator's reached its end of life. It's had it. So in this episode we are going to upgrade the alternator. I have got the 80 amp alternator from the Suzuki Swift Sport, a little bit different to how it fits onto the Jimny, but in today's episode I'm going to fit that in, and hopefully in just a little while this baby's going to be purring like a kitten. The best way that I've found to take the alternator out is to do it from the top actually. If you disconnect the battery, take the airbox out, take the piping out, there's a little charcoal canister, and that gives you almost unobstructed view of the alternator from the top. Once you've managed to get that right, it's a simple mechanism holding the alternator and the belts in place. 8mm if I understand, or if I remember correctly, Allen key down at the bottom for tightening that bolt on the bracket. Loosen that, pull the alternator out the top, and actually you can get it done in about 15 minutes. If you've done it before, your first time's always going to take a bit longer, but otherwise really ain't that bad. And that's it really. I've removed the airbox, removed the pipe going to the throttle body. Here's the little charcoal canister at the bottom that I just pull up and pull to the side. From here you have an unobstructed view of the alternator down at the bottom. So this here is your main alternator wire that needs to come off, that feeds through to your battery from there. So that's the main line. There is a plug sitting at the back. This bracket here I have actually upgraded from the Swift Sport. So if you can get the Swift Sport, the general Suzuki one, you have to, and it's very tight inside to see what's going on here, but you kind of have to wedge it down. With this one from the Swift Sport, it's got this adjusting nut on the top here, if I can get it to focus. So you tighten that, pulls tension on the belt, and it becomes a whole lot easier just to get it done. So I'm going to climb underneath here, loosen that 8mm Allen key bolt, come up to the top, rip the alternator out. As I mentioned, you've got your main big cable that goes onto your battery, and you want to make sure that your battery is disconnected for all of this, because if those wires touch anywhere else, pretty good chance of them arcing. And then at the back there is a plug on the top. Push the pin down, pull it off. If you can't push the pin down, sometimes it helps just to push the plug in a little bit tighter, push the clip, and then pull it out. And there we have it. Literally 7 or 8 minutes. Alright, now this is where the fun comes in. So during the course of the week I was playing around with this alternator, and this here is the alternator from the Swift Sport. So you can see almost identical in terms of construction. There's your point over here for your battery terminal. So there and there on the back of this, it's got a 4-plug connector. On the Jimny it's only got a 3-pin connector. However, only 2 of those wires are used, but the main point that you want to get across here is to make sure that your pulleys are the same. And fortunately on this one, this is a 5-belt pulley, that's a 4-belt pulley, so that's not a problem. I've pulled this one off, and the only way that you can get this off is to zap it with a gun. You're not going to get it off any other way. I tried putting a belt around it, I tried putting a vise around it, and it just slipped. Put a little bit of I use Spark, just a lubricating, penetrating oil, spray it on a little bit, let it sit, shoot it with the pneumatic gun, and it came right off. So I'm going to do the same with the Jimny one. Alright, so while that sits and penetrates, I want to just talk about the wiring a little bit. So you've got 4 different types of alternators. You've got, and really the only difference between them is the wires that they use. So some use a single wire, 2-wire, 3-wire, and 4-wire. The Jimny alternator from factory is a 3-wire pin, or 3-pin alternator, but the wires for the Jimny is actually only 2. And those 2 wires, you've got a black and a red and white. The black one is the sense wire, so that's to sense when the alternator needs to start generating the charge for the battery, what the battery levels is and everything like that. And then the other wire is the lamp wire, and it's very, very simple in terms of the lamp wire. When you turn the ignition on, The ignition sends a signal through the LED for the alternator light, shines up because it can pass through the LED, and as soon as you turn the ignition on and start the car, and the alternator is turning, generating current, it pushes the current back up through that bulb, it hits the light, and now you've got a voltage coming from one side, voltage coming from the other side, and that LED doesn't shine up. So that's how you know that your alternator is working. Very simple, high terms, and I'm no electrical engineer, so, or whatever the case is, so do your homework, do your research, but I will put a link in the description below of a beautiful website, a lot of reading, but it explains it beautifully for you. Quick, easy thing. I'm doing this on a Sunday afternoon, which means if I can do it, you can do it too. You may want to put a glove on for this. And one thing you do want to note is put a little etching mark on the nut and the shaft so that you can see if they start moving. Very simple to do. Grab a screwdriver and just mark it. And you may want to use the right size socket. Right, round 2, right size socket. Just like that, it's off. Now, what you do want to check is whatever alternator you're going to be using as your new one, you just want to check that the pulleys are similar in terms of thickness, offset, and one thing is you want to make sure that the shafts are the same thickness. So, turns out I can't use this alternator. You can see the difference here between the pulleys. This one here is a very short shank compared to this one here, which has a longer shank over here. And the design of them look very similar, except this one here is nice, big and fat. And this one here is nice and thin, which means this is a bust. Alright, so behind me on the table here is the leftovers of the Swift Sport alternator, and I'm going to have to admit defeat today. It's a Sunday, I can't get another alternator today. That one is just not going to work. What I actually was trying to do was I was trying to pull it all apart and see if I was able to swap this crown onto the front of this alternator, and then I wouldn't have to worry about the pulleys that are so different. But that's really not working out for me today, so I'm just going to have to see what I can do tomorrow. When the shops are open, there are two options. One, get a replacement alternator, and it'll work. It'll be from another Jimny. Our friends up in Pretoria, Auszookers, they'll be able to ship me one down. I can have it here within a couple of days. The other option is to look at putting the Land Cruiser one, which is a 120 amp hour alternator, if I believe correct. But again, that's going to take a little bit of mods. The wiring is different, the pulley is different. So let's see what tomorrow brings. And just a shout out to my beautiful wife. We are trying our new camera today, and it's awesome. Loving it.
Doesn't feel like it's in my face.
It's not like this anymore. It's like this, and we can get everything in here. So I couldn't stand still and just wait around. So I went and got out the little Dremel, and these here are all the little screws that were holding the part of the alternator on the back. And you'll see here that on each one I took the little Dremel, cut them out, and managed to eventually get them off. And here you can see the build-up and all the trouble. And if I get this into the light, there we go. It's no wonder the alternator wasn't working properly. So I've got one of two options. Either clean that one out, which I think is an absolute waste of time. So I'm going to try and get a replacement for that on Monday, see what I can find. I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to get that whole contraption piece on the back. Alternatively, another alternator coming in. So I'm going to dawdle around here. If I see you again today, it's because I come up with a solution. If I haven't, then I'll see you when I've got everything I need. And so the plot thickens. So stripped it out, had a look. This terminal over here, that over there is broken in two. So that's one problem, apart from all the other corrosion that you see on here. And then pulling the alternator apart at the back, there is so much corrosion on all the wires that there's even this wire over here is broken off. I think I have to admit defeat. I think that alternator's enjoyed its life. And if you don't know why it's looking like that, here's a clip from All the Mud. So yes, I think it's safe to say that alternator is dead. time to buy a new one. And we are back after a crazy week. I have managed to source another alternator. It's not an original Jimny alternator, and this here is the alternator here that I got from my mate up in Langenbaan, and you will notice that it's got a 4-pin at the back here, but that's not a problem because I took this down. Yes, she's making cookies. I took this down to the spare shop, and I managed to get, if I can get it out, another 3-pin regulator like that. So the idea is to take this one, put it onto this alternator here, and it should just bolt in. I did originally want to go with the Land Cruiser alternator, but that required a little bit of wiring modification, and it was something that I just did not want to go into right now. But check this out. And these guys up here are probably about a week and a half old, and they have made such a mess in the back of my Jimny over here. So we're definitely going to have to sort that out. But other than that, we're ready to rock and roll. So I'm going to get this new regulator fitted onto the Jimny, put a little bit of a time lapse on to show you how it's done, and it really is plain and simple. And hopefully in just a few moments this girl will be back up and running and ready to rock and roll. So the camera died on me, so I don't know how far you saw in the time lapse, but what I did have to do over here, so this is actually the back end of the Jimny. The one for the original alternator's got a big square one, it doesn't fit on here. And this alternator is actually from a 1500 Suzuki Liana, I think it is. It was an import motor that a mate of mine transplanted into his Jimny. So I'm going to button that all back up. Pulleys on. Everything is tied up, everything is ready to go. I'm going to pop it back into the Jimny, start it up, and hopefully we're going to get 14.4 volts. Otherwise, all of this was in vain.
What's up?
So literally the moment we've all been waiting for. We've got the battery light on, which is a good sign. So let's see. Crank her over. And what have we got? Not too shabby. 13.9, I can live with that, so it's on idle, 13.9, I'm happy. That means this is a win. Thank you very much for joining me on this episode. If you like what you saw, please make sure to leave a like, comment down below, smash that subscribe button if you haven't, and if you've made it this far, I really appreciate it. You are the real MVP, and I appreciate all the love and support that I get from you guys. Until the next adventure with the Jimny. Oh look, 14 volts, woohoo!